Good day, my name is Anka Habakan from the Alveo marketing team. We virtually landed in lockdown Sydney on our trip around the data management world. Maybe you can say summer series is a little bit misleading for this episode and also has the Northern Hemisphere bias. Of course, it's winter in Sydney. Today we talk to Daniel Kennedy, Alveo's director for the Asia Pacific region, originally from Australia, now living in Singapore. He has many years experience in the fintech industry, worked closely with buy-side and sell-side firms across the region. Today, we want to discuss the data as the asset. Data is universally seen as an asset, and with other assets, if you don't manage them, they can depreciate in value very quickly. In case of data, this can include aspects such as stale information, permission management, data quality, lack of data lineage to trace data back to original source, and so on. Taken together, these aspects can lead to material data risk, which is what regulations like CP3 235 from APRA is about, which we were discussing today. So, Daniel, why is it that data is considered an asset today?
So we've actually seen data not as a new asset class. We've been looking at it that way for about the past 25 years. But we're seeing that it's becoming more and more important within organizations, both on the buy side and the sell side, because it's helping to drive analytics. So what we actually see is more important is closing that gap between the data management and the generation of the analytics. Data is no longer just relied upon inside reports. It's actually now used by those leading the market to generate differentiation, generate alpha, and to generate analytics within the organization. It's almost akin to driving in a race, being powered either by a Ferrari or a Toyota. In a recent industry research report that we published, which was primarily around outsourcing data management, we found that fewer than 9% of respondents treated data as a source of competitive advantage. So you can see it's really just the top few percent that are really leveraging the data as a new asset class.
You talk about data lifecycle management. In your experience, what are the critical elements of the data lifecycle management?
So there's probably about half a dozen steps within best practice of data lifecycle management, but the three that are probably the most important are the capture, the processing, and then the publication of that data. So we're seeing a trend within the conversations we're having towards increasing the size of the library of the data managers and the data vendors and the data feeds that you've got within the organization. What this allows or enables those organizations to do, if they've got this library, is to be more agile and to be able to onboard data sets a lot quicker. They can get it in, they can start creating value, they can operationalize that data far quicker than having to go back and sort of build these data pipes and data feeds on a as requested basis. It's almost very similar to being able to create your own shopping list and go and source your data for a specific use case. From a processing perspective, it surrounds a lot around the data quality and the data management perspective. So being able to fix those errors, being able to complete and close any gaps, proxy, verify data, all before you release it downstream to those people who are going to rely upon it and use it, whether it be for investment decisions, risk management, or generating analytics. And to do that and to do it effectively and quickly, you need to be able to have a large range of user-definable tools at hand. There's no point trying to go back and redevelop these things and wait for coding or wait for a vendor to be able to deliver it. You need to be able to enable the business users to be able to make these changes quickly to deliver a result and more value in a smaller, shorter time to market. And what that then requires you to do is have a sort of greater user experience. It's very fluid, it's very simple, less complicated, and allows you to provide transparency and ultimately solve that question of where is my data currently. The third part of that equation is the publication of that data. Being able to service those data consumers with speed and confidence And that confidence comes from being able to have good, robust exception management that underlies that entire process. And again, the publication goes back to being able to rely on the business user enablement to be able to create shorter and more efficient time to market for those data routes to get out to market. Interestingly, again, going back to that survey I mentioned, 86% of those we surveyed responded saying that they struggle with their data management, particularly infrastructure reliability, data governance, access controls, and finally the data costs as well. So it's certainly a big issue for a lot of the people we spoke to as part of that report.
So besides the points you just raised, what else do firms need to consider when dealing with this highly valuable asset?
So more and more the regulators and the clients themselves are asking around auditability and traceability of the data. Where has it come from? Who's touched it? What changes have been made? How can I trust that it's the right data to be used to make, as I said, investment decisions, risk management decisions, or to use in analytics throughout the organization, whether those analytics are consumed by the front office or by the end data consumer. So having good auditability of the data is going to be key going forward from both a regulatory perspective and an operational perspective. We're seeing that manifest itself into a request and more preference towards moving into things like managed service, both from a technology perspective and from an operational perspective. In that recent report that we did around the outsourcing of data management, 61% of the respondents said that their firms had an interest in looking at data as a service model. So that's almost 2/3 of everyone in the market is having a think about how they fundamentally change the way that they're adopting and onboarding data as a service or managed services within the organization. It's going to move us more towards an SLA and KPI driven market. It's going to affect the overall cost of change. It's going to make it quicker and easier to get data to market and data management practices to market as well. But it will require the organizations to think very carefully about the changes that they want as part of that whole process. And I think finally, the other thing to consider when dealing with data as an asset class is ultimately the end game. The whole ethos of keeping the end in mind. Machine learning, RPA, AI, they're things that people ultimately want good, clean data to deliver for them. So you've got to get the automation right. You've got to be able to generate the competitive differentiation through that good, clean data set, and make it a repeatable process in order to be able to get to that end result of those efficiencies of machine learning, RPA, and AI.
Daniel, thank you so much for your time today. You've given us a great insight and raised interesting points around the regulations such as CPG 235. We hope you enjoyed our short stay down under as much as we did. If you missed any of the other stops on our world tour around the data management world, or if you want to read more, simply follow the link on the screen now. Thank you very much.